the lone wolf without boundaries. And when we think of the lone wolf, yeah, it is very boundaryless, right? It is going off on its own. It has no rules. It has no restrictions. It's doing what it wants to do, sometimes without any choice of its own, but through a mere need for survival. So in that sense, not having any boundaries, not having any rules is one thing. But what I want to talk about is the detrimental side of not having any boundaries. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about the evolution of boundaries for a lone wolf, and then becoming boundaries in these 4 steps. And when I talk about becoming boundaries, like you then won't need boundaries again. You have them, you lose them, you relearn them, and then you become them. Because not only is it the most empowering thing you'll ever do, it's also the most devastating. And I say devastating because we're all born with boundaries. Coming out of the womb was the first indicator that we exercised our boundaries and cutting the cord with our mothers. However, our survival relied heavily on the dependence of another human. Without them, we die. This doesn't mean that our boundaries died. Not yet, anyway. Our cries were misread, our anger was misplaced, and our happiness was soon to be understood as something based on making others happy. But then as we grew in ability to verbally communicate our boundaries, this may have also been misunderstood. As kids, we are in our own way expressing our boundaries when we say, I don't like to be tickled. Oh, yes, you do. All kids love tickles. Or I don't want to be hugged right now. Oh, that's not being very nice. Give your grandmother a hug. What about don't come in my room? I want my privacy. Too bad. This is my home. You don't get any privacy here. You're just a kid. Or when kids say, I want to do it on my own. No, I have to help you. You need my help. These are all early attempts at learning to set boundaries. And unless our parents had a keen ear for this, they would have missed them, resulting in us feeling shame and guilt for expressing our needs. And then this is where we learned that our needs were not important, that our boundaries were bad, and unless our needs were here to serve someone else, that was all that was important. Our needs apparently were not here for our own purpose. And so you may have stuffed down any desire to think about yourself as someone who is worthy to stand up and take care of your needs. We become disempowered when our needs are not met and when our needs are not understood, and when we try to express our needs and they're shut down. And that happens at a very young age. The first thing that comes to mind for me is my dad was coming to pick me up for a visit for the weekend. I didn't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to. I want to stay home. Aren't I allowed to do that? No, apparently you're not. Apparently there's a court order. You must go. You must go. You're not allowed to make that choice. And so what was that teaching me? That was teaching me that my needs didn't matter, that how I felt didn't matter. It was invalidating how I felt, and that something bigger than me got to decide what my actions were going to dictate. So things like that, right? Anytime, like just think about when you try to stand up for yourself, when you try to express yourself, try to express a need for yourself and someone told you otherwise. Slowly, 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 your confidence starts to erode and you start to think that something is wrong with you. And you start to sit in that shame. But you put on a mask that everything's fine, everything's okay, everything's cool, whatever, I'll get over it, I can deal with it. I did deal with it, right? Week after week after week. Just put on the face, just go ahead. And you trick yourself. You trick yourself into thinking that you're fine because you want to be fine. And I better not let anyone know that I'm not fine. So we're fine. And so this is where the denial comes into play, right? And where you completely have a disregard of your own boundaries that you're allowed to set. You just stop doing that. You stop. You don't realize that having boundaries for yourself and taking care of your own needs is how you source your self-worth and your self-esteem. So to come to this place where your self-esteem is sourced externally, you have a false sense of self. You think that you have this confidence, but it's not intrinsically sourced because there's always this underlying level of shame. And so long as I have this shame and thinking that something is wrong with me, I will not feel that confident, healthy level of self-worth, of self-esteem. I might project it, I might project the confidence. Your self-esteem becomes based on what other people think about you. And you might even be in denial that you have low self-esteem because you've been now operating with this mask on and this completely inauthentic way of being. I don't need help with boundaries because I can get what I want by putting on a mask instead. I can have people like me because either I'm a people pleaser or I pretend that I don't care about people. And so I get my needs met one way or the other. But the way that we end up getting our needs met is by being manipulating, because now what you used to do to get your needs met didn't work. So how am I going to get my needs met now? I try to get my needs met through boundaries. Now I have to get my needs met somehow by not setting boundaries. So I have to meet other people's needs in order to get my needs met. I have to go around this whole long back doorway of getting in to get what I need. Or I pretend that I don't have needs. I'm like, I don't care. I don't need people. I don't need things. I do it all myself. I get all my needs met myself now. I don't need to include anyone in any of this. And this is really where the isolating part comes in. Instead of building some level of interdependence where I can depend on other people and I can depend on myself, now I've stopped relying on other people altogether. Now I'm just going to rely on myself solely. That's it. Might do some little tricks, like I said, manipulating things, people pleasing, his manipulation, but it's being very inauthentic. I'm still wearing this mask. I'm still operating from a place of shame. I'm still operating from a place of low self-esteem. Because if I'm operating from shame, it means that I don't feel worthy to have my needs met. So I totally flip-flop what matters to me. And what matters to me is just keeping other people happy. And if other people are happy, then I feel okay. And that makes me a good person. I'm a good person because I don't piss people off. I'm a good person because I don't create any conflict. I'm a good person because I don't confront others on their bullshit. I'm a good person because I won't bother to stand up for myself and I'll just let it all slide. All those things. But am I being a good person to myself? Heck no. I'm definitely not being a good person to myself. And then I'm being a disservice to these other people because I'm not letting them know what it is that I really want. I'm not letting them know who I really am. They don't ever really get to know how to have a balanced relationship with me. There's always this underlying anxiety and tension. There's always this overthinking mind of what are they thinking? What do they want? What do I need to do? Did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? That takes up a whole lot of energy. It's very exhausting, which is why people eventually give up on people pleasing, because they start to feel the resentment, they start to feel the exhaustion, and they don't take the time to say, well, I better learn how to really have a healthy relationship by having healthier boundaries. I'll just cut all these people off. So we have people, we're turning our backs on other people are turning their backs on us, and then things start to crumble. And then you're left feeling used, you feel betrayed, you feel deceived. And I mean, if that's happened to you and it's left you feeling resentful and betrayed, well, I'm here to tell you, those are the feelings that people who don't have healthy boundaries will experience when that sort of thing happens. Because healthy boundaries equal healthy relationships. And now, when you have no boundaries, you're completely disempowered. You might go around with fake confidence, okay? So we're at the stage where we've lost our boundaries, and either we say, well, just forget it. I'm just going to be completely hyper independent on myself. Or I say, you know what? Relationships actually matter to me. And most importantly, the relationship with myself really matters to me because I recognize that I have this mask, that I have this shame, that I have this low self-worth, that maybe I was in denial about this whole time, but now it comes back to me, right? It always just comes back to you. You're always the common denominator. And now I can't blame people for not teaching me this. I can't blame anyone else for not honoring the boundaries that I had when I was younger as an opportunity to instill that in me and to, empower me and to encourage me to continue to do that. No, I can't go back in time. So it's like, okay, crap, now I have to learn this. And for a lot of us, it comes at a point in our life where we're like, I'm too old. Like, it's too late. The damage is already done. Like, this is too hard. I don't have the confidence to start this now. How am I even supposed to learn this? Who's supposed to teach me? I can read all these books, but I don't even have anyone to practice it with because I lost everyone. I don't even have anyone to practice setting these boundaries with anyway. What do I need them for? Well, you're going to need them. You're going to need them with yourself first, because you got to look at some of the ways that maybe you've been abandoning yourself. How have I been handing myself over to other people to define my self-worth? Well, now I'm going to have to start to build some boundaries within myself. What are the things that I don't have healthy boundaries with me on? What are the things that I compromise myself with? What are the things that I know I want or that I know I need, but I don't give myself that? I don't honor that in myself. I don't think I'm important for it. And I diminish my own needs, right? Because a lot of the boundaries that we would put up would be walls. We can be really good at putting up the walls, but that doesn't let anyone else in. And sometimes it actually doesn't let our own feelings in. Our own feelings also get stuck and they're protected with this wall. Okay, now I've got this wall of protection around me. No one can hurt me. No one can say anything to me. But you're in there. You're in that wall. Okay? Like if you're feeling a little claustrophobic and trapped sometimes and lonely, well, because you built this wall around yourself, not just with other people, but with you too. So it's like, okay, how do I start to just soften some of these edges? How do I soften it? Maybe I lower the wall a little. Let me just peek over, see what's happening out there, Because saying no left you feeling guilty. And so I don't want anyone to even ask me anything. Okay. Don't even ask me. Don't even put me in the position where I have to say no. Now I've just eliminated that. No one can even ask me for anything, so I don't have to deal with saying no. But what are you saying no to yourself about? What are you saying no that you will not do, that you will not tolerate in yourself? What are we doing over here? What are we really doing? Well, I feel safe behind these walls. I'm sure you do. But there's where the denial comes in. I've been working on this loneliness epidemic series, the loneliness report that says that we need social connection. And although that might be true, it may also be something else that this loneliness requires is connection to self, to spirit, to source, to higher power, to nature, to Mother Earth. That kind of connection. Okay. It doesn't have to be with another person, but with you first and foremost. What's going on? So now you're in this state of relearning, hopefully. It's going to take a while. It's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be a lot of trial and error. So there's going to come times where you got to set a boundary with someone. So I'm currently leasing the house that I live in, and I noticed some mold in the basement storage room. And I let my landlord know about it. And she told me to go and get some bleach and use a brush and scrub it and dry it and dispose. And she listed all these steps. And I was like, this isn't my responsibility. I mean, I used to be a landlord. If I had a tenant say, oh, we got some mold down here, I'd be like, okay, I'll be right over and I'll take care of it. Let me know when I can come over, clean it up. So I'm like questioning myself only for a split second. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be the one to do this, but I know it's not my responsibility, but now how do I communicate that? And so I simply just let her know I'm not comfortable taking care of that myself. Let's see if she offers. And indeed she did. Okay, well, if you're not comfortable doing it, I will come over and I will take care of it. I'm like, perfect. Thank you. That's it. I didn't need to go into a whole, excuse me, you're the landlord, and according to this and that, you need to blah, 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 blah. I could have, but I didn't need to. It's going to be, direct without emotion. Okay. Because I could have brought emotion into it. So there's my emotional boundaries to finally meet your own needs. Okay. And not in that hyper independent way. No, being able to meet your own needs in a way that allows you to be vulnerable, to allow other people the opportunity to meet you halfway, right? Like what I did with the landlord. I could have just took care of the whole thing, okay? Like, and like cursed her under my breath, this isn't my responsibility and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I'm just gonna let her know I'm not comfortable with that and let her meet me halfway to say, okay, I will let me know when is a good time and I will do it for you. Right? Yeah. It's practice. It's so much practicing of doing these things for ourselves while we also allow an opportunity for someone else to step in and meet our needs for us too. Codependency, let's face it, it's a huge problem. Codependency is an emotional addiction where we are emotionally dependent on other people to meet our needs. And when we give that up and we say, okay, I'm not going to allow other people to meet my needs, it doesn't mean I'm giving up on other people. That's a lot of times what will happen. I'm just going to give up on these people. Some people, yes, we might need to give up on them for a little while. We might need to put them over here while we take care of ourselves. So it's like I was dependent on other people to make me feel my worth. Now I have to depend on myself to meet my own worth. But having said that, what is the role that other people still play in my life? We got to return to that. Let people know how you feel because we stopped doing that, right? We stopped letting people know how we felt. We were only concerned about how they felt, and we stopped sharing our feelings. Because anytime we would share our feelings, well, it wouldn't go anywhere. It would land ourselves in conflict, right? And sometimes expressing our feelings didn't go over well. We didn't know how to express our feelings. Sometimes our feelings would come across in a way that was accusatory or blaming or overly anxious. And then we would become very avoidant with people. And, there would be like just silence. Fine, I'm not sharing anything with them anymore, ever. This is all or nothing thinking. Okay, but we got to come into some middle ground here. And codependency leaves you often emotionally unavailable to yourself and a little bit emotionally immature too. So you become stunted in your ability to be emotionally vulnerable with other people. But that's what the missing link is, right? It's like, okay, now I need to be emotionally available to myself, but now I need to learn how to express those emotions to other people in a way that's not confrontational, that's not blaming. It just is. And we let people know in a different way. Instead of telling people that you made me feel this way, we say, I feel this way when this situation takes place. It's the classic I statements, right? I'm going to talk about me. Or you always do this and you always do that, or you never tell me you love me. You never listen to me. Instead, I need to say, I have a need to be heard. I feel really valued by people in my life when they take time to listen to me. Even if sometimes I go off for a long time and I take a while to get to my point, I need people to be patient with me. I really appreciate when people can be patient with me. Right? So it takes the pressure off the other person instead of being accusatory, because we're going to have a lot of anger. So you have to build that self-compassion first. And this is, oh gosh, this is not something that happens overnight. That's why a lot of people come and work with me to start building that compassion with myself. How do I talk to myself, letting myself know what I need? And then when I know what I need, then I can tell other people what I need, because I forgot. I used to try to express that when I was younger. That got shut down. Now here I am back again. I'm an adult. I'm grown. I've had a whole lot of experience, a whole lot of things that are trailing behind me. that I'm lugging around? And what do I need to let go of? And what is true and what isn't true? And how am I being too all or nothing in my thinking? How can I come to this middle path? How can I stop abandoning myself? How can I start showing up for myself? Because when I know how to show up for myself, that's when other people are going to show up for me too. They're not going to feel obligated. They're not going to feel like it's a demand or an expectation. They want to. They want to meet me because I want to meet me here. So that's when this last part comes together where I become my boundaries. Boundaries become part of my being. It's just me now. It's just me now. I don't have to think about setting boundaries and how to do it anymore. I am it. I am now embodying my own needs. I am now able to communicate the stuff that I want without thinking about it as that's my boundary. I set a boundary with you. No, I set a boundary with myself to no longer abandon myself and to stand up for myself and to tune into what my needs are so that I can allow other people to join me in getting our needs met. And our needs is to have a connection with people that's meaningful, that's supportive, that's understanding and loving and caring. And when conflict comes up, I don't feel afraid of conflict anymore. I don't feel afraid of expressing my needs to someone anymore because I know that that's a very healthy thing to do. And I know that the people that I'm allowing into my life are the ones that are healthy for me because they allow me to do that. And they are really good role models for doing that as well. I've got a boundaries quiz. I'll link it to the bottom of the video. You can see, how am I doing with boundaries? I've got a self-compassion quiz you can take. How am I doing with showing my self-compassion? Both of those have free workshops and webinars that you can connect to on the results page that I've done over the years to give you a little bit more insight in how you can develop some healthier boundaries and how you can develop some self-compassion. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time.